Okay. Welcome to Waking the Kraken. I'm Wes Potts.
I'm Alex Kahneman.
And do we have news this week?
We sure do.
Oh, did you do the thing? Because I totally forgot to do the thing. Did you get the cards?
Oh, no, I don't have any cards.
I was going to say, I forgot the cards this week.
Oh. No, I was excited because I just did news this week. That's what I thought you meant.
No, I was curious about the cards. I thought you were like, hey, check this out.
No,
now I've got cards.
No, we got to keep doing
All right.
cards. I need to remember that for next week. Do you want to start this week? I think I started last week.
No, I started last week.
That's right, because I didn't have news.
Yeah, because you borrowed one of mine.
Okay, so something really interesting is starting right now. Pretty much from now until August 12th is something in the UK called the Big Butterfly Count.
Okay.
It is a crowdsourced type of research on the butterfly population of, I believe, all of the Great Britain island.
Okay, gotcha.
And so basically, all it has you do is it says on any day between, now until August 12th, you sit somewhere out and you just count all of the types of butterflies that are listed on their website, and you just say, "This is how many I've seen."
Okay.
And they've been doing it for a couple years now, and apparently, the data that they have collected about the butterfly population from doing this is almost exactly aligned with the way more stringent and difficult process for ensuring it as well. So they're showing that kind of crowdsourced research can still be
more
really
cost effective.
Yeah, very effective.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to say that it's being pushed by David Attenborough. He has a little little promotion.
It. Yeah, I was going to say it's got to sell then.
Yeah,
it's David Attenborough, the voice of nature.
Yeah, right.
So, my first one is Vladimir Putin is coming to America. It was said, I think earlier this week. Donald Trump invited Vladimir Putin to America. It's caused a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Obviously, with not only Trump dissidents, people that don't like Trump, the Democrats and stuff, but also members of his own party. Never has there ever been a standing president who has had intelligence marks against, or who's had intelligence against another foreign leader, have said leader come to the country.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
no kidding.
In such an elaborate and invitational fashion. Obviously, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad came from Iran whenever we were having the nuclear issue kind of thing, but he came to speak at the United Nations. So.
It's a little different.
Right.
Yeah. So neuroscientists have discovered what is basically a brain sewage system that we have not been aware of until now. So basically, all of the processes that are going on in our brain with creating new neural pathways and updating the way we think and the way it's wired creates a lot of what's called detritus.
Okay.
Just little bits of basically brain material and matter that's dead that it needs to get rid of.
Right.
Which we don't normally think about. And so you have a whole sewage system called the glymphatic system that pulls all of that stuff out of your brain so it doesn't build up. And what's really important about this is the glymphatic system really starts to kick into overdrive at night. So it does your brain does a lot of its own cleaning when you're asleep.
Well, yeah, okay.
And one of the things that it's linked to cleaning is a protein called beta amyloid. Okay. Which is inexplicably linked to Alzheimer's.
That's what I was curious about. If eventually, as you go on, if it goes into overdrive and starts throwing away things that you might need, and that causes these degenerative diseases.
Well, Alzheimer's is linked to basically a buildup of beta amyloid, and so what they're showing is if you don't get enough sleep consistently, your brain is going to get this buildup of beta amyloid, which is going to kind of promote the development of Alzheimer's within you.
Okay.
So they actually just found through finding a brain sewage system that Alzheimer's is almost directly linked to not getting enough sleep.
Interesting.
Which I thought was really crazy.
Yeah. Black sarcophagus found in Egypt. This is from Archaeology News. Black sarcophagus found in Egypt. They weren't sure about if they were going to open it or not. Eventually, the Egyptian government did unseal it.
Yeah.
They were curious because it was found in Alexandria, Egypt.
Right.
No one's ever been able to find the tomb of Alexander the Great. Allegedly, his burial site is in Alexandria, Egypt.
Really?
And since this was such a weirdly significant, just solid black coffin, they were curious to see if it was that. Yeah, I think Caesar went and visited Alexander the Great's tomb and everything like that.
Interesting. Okay.
But So they found this, and they were curious to open it up, but they weren't sure if they were going to or not because it's gigantic.
Right.
They finally did open it up. They revealed that it wasn't Alexander the Great, but it was 3 soldiers to one of the pharaohs, and we can actually see that they got a nice burial. In fact, one of them looks like he was wounded in battle. You can see on the shards of the skeletal, on the skeleton, the skull, actually where an arrow was fired into it and stuff. Wow. And so, it was very big and significant. They said that it smelled wretched because it had been underwater for a while. And so just like the sewage that built up with it and then like all this other stuff, it was just nasty sounding.
That sounds gross. But a cool discovery nonetheless.
Very interesting discovery.
Man, archaeology is probably one of the most intriguing fields of science that we have right now.
Right.
To me, just because like, let's uncover more and more and more bits of history. Like that's amazing to me. The more we can learn about that stuff, the better.
And even the stuff that's unwritten, or like the things that they never thought would really get out, like kind of thing and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, obviously we see it all the time. We're like, well, that's not going to be popular in like 20, 40, 100 years. But archaeology can come through and be like, this was a very big thing at this time.
Which is crazy.
So,
and then for my last piece of news, Chance the Rapper released a surprise 4-track EP yesterday.
I listened to that, actually.
Yeah. And also, in kind of combination with that, he announced that he bought the media outlet called The Chicagoist in Chicago.
Okay.
And he is now going to be, he's basically the CEO of this media outlet, and it's going to be focusing on like local Chicago outreach and community work and like and news, basically.
Very cool.
Which is like pretty much exactly what you would expect Chance the Rapper to do, which is like, I'm going to make a newspaper that like promotes Chicago even more.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And also, I'm pretty sure he may have done it because the Chicago Sun released a really like scathing article against Chance the Rapper.
Oh, really?
Basically claiming that he was struggling with child support, even though he was making all of this money.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of encouraged him to maybe move towards purchasing another media outlet.
Seeking other outlets outside of what he's doing.
Yeah, to try and say like, well, no, like that story is so bad and so wrong that he was like, I can't believe that this is media. So now I got to buy one that can be more truthful because I'll be in control. And so I'm kind of hoping that's the direction he's going with it is like, no, like we need true news in Chicago.
Right.
So I thought that was cool.
My last bit of news is today is actually Prince George of Great Britain's birthday. Huh. He's 5 years old. He's third in line to the British throne behind Charles and William. Nice. So the oldest son of William, it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Prince George.
Happy birthday.
You're probably never going to see this, but happy birthday nonetheless.
Yeah, you never know.
In like, what, 13 years he's just listening to our show.
Yeah. What if he's like the one who really like has given us all of our like, UK
he's
ratings
5.
and stuff. He's 5, yeah. Like what, and he's just like Waking the Kraken.
There's literally no reason that a 5-year-old should be listening to this show. We use a lot of profanity.
That's very true. Wait, isn't he like a Prince of England or something?
Yeah, he is.
So then he can do what he wants.
Yeah, but he's got to be proper.
None of them are proper. They always are getting in trouble, aren't they, when they're young? Like,
Only his uncle was getting in trouble when he was young. Like, what was it, the redheaded one?
Yeah,
Harry.
Yeah, you're right. It's only been the one. Maybe that's just.
And now he's married.
And so he's not getting in any more trouble.
He's not getting in any trouble.
No,
hopefully.
But
yeah. So outside of the news, that thus ends Kraken World News.
Kraken World News.
So I saw that you released your video this week. Very exciting.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure it has 3 views.
And I put it on the Facebook. Facebook page.
I did see that, which thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
That. Yeah, so I've been working on that for a while. The What Is Music. I think I played you the audio before whenever I had just finished the audio, but
it's much better with the visuals though too. I love the little like caricature that you built with the because it's TV magic. So I love like the TV head. It reminded me. Have you ever read Saga?
Yeah,
there's a whole race of people with television heads.
Dude, I guarantee you that was where the inspiration for that came from. Because Saga was coming out right when I was really into comic books.
Yeah,
and so it was one of the fresh ones that I was like, yeah, this is one that I can be on board with.
Right.
And I had a couple friends who were really into it, and I just always was like in love with the TV head people. And I was like, that's such a cool look, which is kind of why I wanted to do TV head for my thing.
Right.
Yeah. And also, I just like TV magic.
Yeah, TV magic's good. And I mean, obviously, it gives a caricature, but it was very, very well put together and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate it. Like, it was a lot of editing. It was a lot of editing.
I think you were telling me, what was it, a couple episodes back and stuff, you were talking about how... Because I remember, like, just looking at all the different scenes within the first 40 seconds of you making this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a lot of things that he's cut together for just the first 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And, like... the amount of work that actually goes into that to look flawless and not choppy and stuff like that is very, very hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's... Man, it was worth it, and I'm excited to keep doing more, but Jesus, is it a learning curve. Like, getting used to that concept is very strange. Like, I mean, it's weird. You'll just be like watching it and be like, I've done all this work, surely this is good enough. And you'll be like, no, it really bothers me that this image doesn't move for like 3 seconds.
Right.
Like, I have to add something else now. Because I know if it bothers me, it'll bother someone else.
Sure.
And like that was just the whole process of like, okay, here's one layer of the video. Does it look good? Okay, I think it looks good. Let's go over it again. It still sucks. Like, let's just add another layer of detail. And it gets tiring.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that's where all the real good stuff comes from, is the editing process.
That's where the nuggets of gold are.
Yeah, like. Exactly. You can't find them if you haven't worn away all of the shitty earth first.
That's a weird reference, but it's hilarious.
It's true though. Like,
it's true.
Like I start putting when you start putting the thing together, you're basically building this thing that's a bunch of garbage, and there's these little nuggets of awesome in it, and you have to remove the garbage until you're like, these are where all the nuggets are. Like you can see them now.
Right.
Kind of like how like old marble sculptures used to say that art isn't done until there's nothing to add. It's when there's nothing left to remove. Because
right.
You're completely removing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, same idea.
So outside of that, like, because you released that's exciting. You finally got that done. You've been talking about that for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So outside of that, this week I went like thrift shopping for clothes. As you can see, I was
to say I love that color. I think I told you that when I walked in the door.
Thank you. In fact, I've never really owned purple shirts, and this shirt was like kind of a revelation for me. It's like, I actually look all right in purple.
Yeah. And now that I had this cup of coffee up here,
right? We have to have plenty of coffee. Which, by the way, Kaylee's new cups for her channel. You might not be able to see it, but Kaylee released YouTube. They have merchandise. Check the cups out. Yeah. They're also shirts, but cups.
But cups more useful than shirts.
And iPhone cases. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have iPhone cases. You can get things printed with iPhone cases now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. Like, actually, it's one of the things that we're going to have to set up for our channel, which is the Teespring.
True.
But when you upload an idea, like, the more, like, you've sold, the more options you'll get to print it on. So, like, you can do, like, also, you can do, like, mouse pads, cup coasters, posters, whatever you want. Like, they seem to have it. So, I'm excited. Be watching out for that Waking the Kraken t-shirt we've been promising for a while.
I really want one. Yeah. Actually, Ben at Bad Form wants one too. Really bad.
I want a bad Waking the Kraken.
Ben's just like, I want to wear a shirt with a Waking the Kraken on it. Like,
I think that'll help. I think that'll make us feel more official for me.
That definitely make me feel more official.
Yeah.
Because then I can wear it, and then I can just wear it around town, and then people will be like, "What's that?" And I'll be like, "It's a thing."
Right. Plus, I would.
And then they'll be like, "You're really vain," but it's
so
hilarious.
What? You know what? Like,
this is no. I should just be like, "This is all that I have anymore."
Like, what do you mean? This is all I am.
The only clothing I have has this on it anymore. It's like Dan Harmon with Rick and Morty shit. Like,
that'd be awesome. Or if like Justin Roiland like only ever wore like a Morty outfit.
Yeah. You should just wear it. Like, he's the only person I know. I gave my my top 5 like Halloween costumes not to me, but Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon are the only people I think I would allow to wear like Rick and Morty costumes, and just be like, they came up with it.
They earned it.
Like,
yeah. So what were we talking about before that break?
We were talking about I believe we were talking about the video still and stuff like that you were doing.
Oh, that's right. Were we? I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Let's Moving on.
Moving on.
So, did you see I watched a couple new trailers this week.
Yes.
The one that I think is the most interesting one that you'd probably be interested in is, have you seen J.J. Abrams' new trailer for Overlord?
No.
So, it takes place in World War II. Once again, another director doing a World War II film.
Yes. I've seen the thumbnail and the words J.J. Abrams New World War II.
Right.
Film, so
Overlord. So it's this World War II epic, and it looks like for about half the trailer, it looks just like a standard World War II film. Yeah. Right. Get in a plane, jump out of the plane, yada yada yada. Right. Where it changes, though, is it's these 4 soldiers get caught behind enemy lines, and then it turns full Wolfenstein, where like basically these Nazis, like they're behind enemy lines, but these Nazis have a castle where they're like doing weird experiments to make supernatural soldiers.
Okay.
And so these supernatural soldiers are having to be stopped by these Americans, it looks like, and stuff like that. It looks great. Like there's like werewolf soldiers and vampire soldiers and other like kinds of just monstrosities.
This sounds like something perfect for J.J. Abrams to be working on right now.
Right. I remember like Chloe sent me it because she sends me a lot of trailers because she's very much more into finding movies before I am. Mm-hmm. But she sent it to me and she said, I don't know if this will be good or not. And I said, if there's anything, J.J. Abrams is very good at doing like sci-fi kind of stuff.
Right.
And so I was kind of worried about the J.J. Abrams film being a World War II epic. Much the same vein as I was worried a little bit about like Nolan doing a World War II epic with Dunkirk. Because Nolan does these like high cerebral, like crazy ones. But he did phenomenal. He knocked it out of the park with Dunkirk. But this one, then I saw like the sci-fi stuff, and I was like, all right, I can kind of feel, I'm getting into this kind of thing and stuff like that. I could feel that this was, if anything, it looks like it'd be a really fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I think we're getting to this point now where like people are kind of like over a lot of some of the like kind of like serious, I don't know. I feel like we're either getting like these like hyper serious dramas, or we're getting superhero movies, or we're getting comedies.
Right.
And like, so it's kind of nice to have that be thrown off by like other fantasy right now that's not Star Wars or Star Trek, because those are the prominent fantasy worlds right now, and I am getting a little overrun by it.
I remember what I was going to say about your music video, or about your video. Sorry to skip around. We'll go back to the trailers. But your video reminded me, there was one point in your video where you were talking about car sounds, like Julian Smith's car sounds and stuff like that, which I thought was really interesting. But I've been watching a lot of Drunk History this week.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't I? Love Drunk History.
It's a great show.
It's
a great show.
But there's one where they're talking about the founding of Motown, and the way that you described like making music in a car and everything like that, just reminded me of the way that the drunk guy talked about how the lead, or like the main guy who made Motown, made Motown, where he was drunkenly explaining that this guy lived in Detroit, which was called Motor City, and he was building cars all the time. He's like, all these cars make these noises and stuff, and they sound so good. It's like music to my ears. And it's just hilarious to me because I saw that part and then just busted up laughing.
That's awesome.
Because I could just see the one guy in my head from Drunk Histories going, exactly saying what you would say.
That's perfect, dude. Ugh. Man, Drunk History.
Drunk History is so good. Like, I think that's the funny thing is, I've been annoyed by drunk people before, and I've been annoyed by people talking about history wrong before, but I've never been annoyed by drunk history before.
Never.
And I feel like there's this Derek Waters has to have this like process where he's just recorded a shitload of his friends telling a history story and then just picks the 3 best of every subject.
Yeah, that's probably
So,
I mean, that's the way to do it, right?
Because I feel like that's what I would do. Like, because I would like, I'm sure if I made a show like that, I would be like, I'm going to give this person a try, maybe they'll be really good. And sometimes people just get really weird and nervous, or they're really, really drunk. Like,
that's for sure. Some of those people get really drunk.
Yeah, they'll get like wasted drunk. Yeah. Like, those are the funnier ones.
They are.
When they can stay on subject about talking about something, but are just obliteratedly drunk.
I think I have only been like that level of drunk a couple times in my life, at least sustaintively. Usually I just go right on past being there and go right
pass out.
And passing out or puking, one of the two. But every once in a while you like get that like perfect level of drink, where you're sustaining just being smashed for hours,
and you're hilarious.
Yeah, and you're just this like unfiltered version of yourself that you may have said something really mean, but you didn't.
Then again, I think I probably think that I'm always hilarious, and probably half the time people are just like, that guy is awful.
I thought you were going to say, that guy is drunk.
That guy is drunk and awful.
So, trailers.
Trailers. Back to trailers. So we had Overlord, which was by J.J. Abrams.
Yes.
The next one that I saw was the new M. Night Shyamalan film, Glass.
Very excited.
Very excited for Glass. Like, I am not... If I would have told myself 5 years ago that I would have been excited for M. Night Shyamalan films again, I would have been like, you're crazy. Did you see Last Airbender? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
Like,
he's like the Nicolas Cage of directors.
Yeah, like the thing is, like, I really liked Split. In fact, I didn't see Split because I was so worried about it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a couple of them. I saw Devil. Devil was all right.
Yeah.
And then I saw Split because my sister just kept being like, "Have you seen Split? Have you seen Split? Have you seen Split?"
Yeah.
So finally, I broke down and watched, and I was like, "That was really cool."
That movie, dude. Okay, the guy who plays the dude with the split personalities.
Yeah.
24, I can't think of his name.
It's McAvoy, James McAvoy.
Yeah, James McAvoy. Yeah, he was young Professor X. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he, like, that is one of the most mind-blowingly difficult performances that he pulls off so well that I feel like I've seen in cinema in such a long time.
Did you know that wasn't supposed to be him initially?
No.
Like, he got cast after Ewan McGregor turned it down. Which could have been a really cool one too,
yeah.
Ewan McGregor. But I'm glad that Ewan McGregor didn't, because I really loved James McAvoy's portrayal.
Yeah, man. Like, he did such a good job with that movie, and like, I loved the movie Unbreakable when it came out.
Yeah.
But whenever Split came, like when I was watching Split, and at the end, whenever it shows
Unbreakable tied in.
Yeah, and it was like, holy crap! M. Night Shyamalan literally just made being a superhero movie a fucking twist.
Yeah.
And in a time whenever all of our superhero movies are just kind of the same highly polished, like, you know, like imagery and like style, and also like the same like universe over and over again, him coming out with this whole new kind of universe of superheroes and like playing it up as like they're real, but people aren't, but it's like in real life.
Well, yeah, and this one has like the psychologist thinking you have delusions kind of thing and stuff like that.
And it's like, this is such a cool take on the superhero, like, you know, kind of universe that, like, I can't, you don't miss it. Like, these three films are going to be some of the best superhero films trilogy probably of all time.
I think the thing that makes it genius for me, and I don't know how it's going to end up, like, it could turn to fucking garbage, it is M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah. But I think the thing that's the most interesting to me is M. Night Shyamalan has invented a comic book style universe without any comics, so you don't have any of those people that can read ahead and go, oh, I kind of know what's going to happen. And so, like, everything becomes just the same excitement as when you were a child reading comic books.
Yeah.
And so it's just like this idea that's like, oh, what's going to happen next? I'm so exhilarated. It gives that vein of everyone's interested in superheroes.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that whole like, oh man, this is going to be like superheroes are going to do these things, but you don't know what they're going to do. You have the ability to extend the writing to where it makes them more human. It makes them less hokey. It makes them less elaborate. They don't have to rely on jokes all the time. I'm sorry, Disney, but I'm talking to you at Marvel and stuff like that. I'm like, stop putting a bunch of fucking jokes in my films.
Yeah.
I get it. They're kids' films sometimes. They're funny. You got to keep kids' attentions. But Thor... The first Thor, not a very funny guy. Third Thor, when he's like running around, just like making jokes everywhere, doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I would say that one of my biggest issues with what the Marvel Universe is doing is how willing they are to completely change the way a character acts for the film.
Sure.
Okay, so like, I recently finally saw Infinity War. Needed to do it.
Yeah.
Finally done it. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked Infinity. I went and saw it with Hamilton. I went and saw it with the Bone.
But I will also say, while Thanos in the movie is a really fun villain, and I thought was like really well done, completely changed his motivation for being a supervillain, which like blew my mind.
I thought that was ingenious. Like,
see, because like I thought what made Thanos so cool was that he did all of his things because he was in love with somebody so much that he wanted to impress her.
Right.
And the only way he could achieve that is by making him the only person left in the universe, because that person that he was trying to impress was Death.
Right.
Who's like personified by like a woman in a black cloak, and he's obsessed with
Is this
her.
from like the comics
Yeah,
and stuff?
that's
Okay. I never read the Infinity War comics or anything like that. Like,
when Thanos first popped up, he came out in like an Iron Man comics, and so the Infinity War with Thanos is like a later thing.
Okay.
But like from the beginning, his whole thing was I'm this villain who is so enamored by Death that I have to kill everybody else so that death literally has no option but to be with me.
Okay.
And
so he's playing off the really shitty thing, like, I wouldn't be with you unless you were the last person on Earth, and he has to go with the universe.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. And so, like, to me, it's kind of like, oh, you can totally relate to where he's coming from and shit.
Right.
And that would make it really fun. So changing it to kind of him being all about data and order, I thought worked really well for the movie and kind of updated it for the day. But it also took away one of my favorite motivations for a supervillain that I've ever read about.
Right.
You know?
I think the thing that I liked about Thanos was I really loved, like, the philosophical warrior idea, where he's like this big old brute guy, and normally in like Hollywood or in things like that, like the big dudes that have just been able to punch their way through things are never very smart, calculating, or intelligent.
No.
And I think the thing that I liked about it was he was this guy that his whole motivation was, I want perfect balance in the entire, like, it's this weird philosophical, like, have you ever heard like someone go like, well, that sounds all great in theory, and it's this one guy that took a theory and is like, I'm going to make this happen by sheer force of will. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of tie.
Yeah, so
it sounds kind of like Hitler.
A little bit, but yeah, no. See, like, because like this is where I will divert from saying I was upset about what they changed and say this is why I think it's cool.
Right,
is because like in the Iron Man movies and all of the Marvel universe up till this point, Iron Man has been a man who basically made money by profiteering off of war, and making war products, and then he goes through an experience where he has almost a life-ending altercation with the weapons that he created.
Right.
And so that changes his outlook onto, how he wants to handle the way he uses his technology, and he goes towards what I would consider a much more rational approach to technology for him.
Yeah.
Like, his character was like, I can rationalize making a weapon that I control for good than I can making weapons that other people only use for bad.
Right.
And so that's always been like his main theme to me, was that he's using like his experience to rationalize his decisions and move his character forward.
Right.
And I think what made Thanos cool for this movie was that like he like almost directly represents what is negative about using rationalism to make your decisions.
Sure, yeah.
But he's like the ultimate personification of that. So he's literally like the Achilles heel of Iron Man's character.
Gotcha.
As far as like how their character develops as a function.
Yeah.
And I thought that was beautiful. Like, to make, because Iron Man, who is clearly not the main character of these movies, like Captain America is arguably the main character of the Marvel movies.
Arguably.
Just if you like try to,
if you watch all like the Avengers films and stuff,
he's the one who's done the most work. To
although
make
this
happen.
one, he's a rogue. Like,
that's true. That's true. And he's the one who goes against the
It's the Civil War starter. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought they did a really good job just at least making Thanos an appropriate villain in the movie context.
Speaking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, did you hear about the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, what's his name, something Gunn, get fired this week?
No.
Yeah, he got fired for a bunch of like old tweets.
Oh, really?
That he had made a long time ago. Like, I from what I heard, and I didn't really check my sources that much.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily what the tweets are about. I saw a couple articles on it.
Yeah.
But he's very anti-proponent of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's also he makes a lot of shitty, awful jokes. Like, I guess like the ones that like a lot of these like conservatives just kind of dug up because he makes fun of Trump a lot were like ones on I think, let me see this source right here. It said something about like he made jokes like on Twitter about like sexual things and stuff like that.
Right. Which is particularly touchy right now.
But this was, I think, like, 2008, 2009. So this is 9 to 10 years ago that these things were being said. And he did give a really interesting statement, and I think it's a very human statement, although it's not necessarily the statement that everyone wants to come out that's like, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, blah, blah, blah. But he did say, like, when he started off making film, the way that he saw it was to be a provocateur through film, like and stuff like that. And so like he's like my jokes. He's like, I'm a different person than I was 9 to 10 years ago. Yeah, he's like, I'm completely different, or not completely different. He's like, I'm not completely different, but he's like, but I'm different enough than I was at that time. He's like, I now know now know better on certain things than that. And
right.
And so there's this huge call to sign a petition to get him back on the Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
That's cool.
So,
like, you rarely hear about that happening, about people being like, hey, they shouldn't have been fired. Like, that's kind of garbage.
Well, they're talking about, like, the thing is, like, it's his outspoken critics of, like, Donald Trump, and they're starting to go, oh, well, you know, like, Disney's starting to collapse to the mega empire.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, dude. I mean, because, like, the more... Essentially, we have freedom of speech. And because that is such a strong thing and so important, and it's not changing, if there are ways to censor us that they can do without infringing upon that first right, one of them is going to be like companies and corporations deciding that they need to be more sensitive to the negativities and saying, oh, because you were a jerk at one point, we don't want you working with us anymore. And
that's frightening, though. That's a witch trial, I feel like. That's like things like if me and you say something now that goes out of vogue, like say we say that we really liked Glass and stuff like that, and then like, well, did you hear that so-and-so did this awful thing and he made Glass, and then like we're put on a fucking cross or something like that for it.
Well, I mean, that even brings up something that I've been doing some reading on this week, you know, like just recently, like it didn't pass, but there was a bill in Canada to make it to where it was mandated that you had to call somebody by their preferred pronoun.
Sure.
So, like, if a transgender person was born a woman but felt a man, you would have to call him a him.
Right.
Which, I understand the sentiment, and, like, I think it's really nice, and, like, I feel like it's really compassionate.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what I got from that was the government was trying to make a type of speech mandatory, which scared me.
I see what you're saying with that, like,
which was really freaky because that is never really I've never even heard of a vote go on something like that having to go like that, like to even be made. Like the fact that a government legitimately considered and had to vote on a proposition that was going to limit your speech in any way was terrifying because that would be the door opening.
Well, I mean, isn't that what all like laws are really, are ways to limit your speech on anything and stuff like that? Like,
I mean, I guess
any discriminatory law, and I'm not saying. Like, I think that you should not discriminate against people at all.
At all.
In fact, I am very, very pro, like, you should have to make cakes for gay couples and stuff like that. Like, I don't believe in any of that. I think the thing is, like, I think the thing about it is, like, that's all that laws do, is they take away things that you already have freedom to do.
Yeah.
Like, because they're considered rogue or, like, kind of, like...
Well, see, like, I think where I draw the line is... freedom. I can say anything.
Sure.
And I should not be like thrown in jail for saying something.
No.
But I mean, and that's totally different than being thrown in jail for doing something. I'm okay with my actions being limited by laws.
I think the thing where it becomes like a gray area though is like what you say can affect others.
Yeah.
And so it's like, say, I mean, when you make these like ideas and stuff like that, I guess the idea is you have to. There's little things that you can like be like, this is a gray area, and then other things you're like, we have to look at the most extreme in making this. Like, so like say you go like, I hate whatever you hate kind of thing and stuff like that. That's fine. It's probably not that big a deal. Yeah. You don't hate a lot of things. But if someone's like yelling and seeing like they're like, I hate this race and that race and this sexuality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even though they're just saying it, be like, I can say it, if they're the spokesperson for an entire corporation, or not a corporation, or like an entire like the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, they go like, I'm just exercising my free speech here. But the thing is, you're going to have smaller dissidents in there that are going to be the muscle, which detaches those people, which are the loudspeaker from the little like minions. It's the whole like Charlie Manson thing, where why is Charlie Manson in jail? He didn't kill anyone. He convinced people to kill some people, which gives him conspiracy to murder. But the thing is, like, he could have literally just been like, I was on drugs, babbling shit on acid and stuff like that. True. And then like they took it too far. And the fact is, when you have a certain level of power, I guess, it's just like us. We shouldn't go around saying awful things all the time. Like we have a responsibility as people that are on the internet and stuff like that to go, we need to make discretion. Now, we're going to mess up. We're people. Everyone messes up. You can't be the humdrum guy that does nothing that goes, oh, I'm allowed to mess up all the time kind of thing and stuff like that, but that celebrity isn't allowed to mess up. Like, let them apologize, see if they change. Like, if they keep doing the same thing over and over and stuff like that, that's whenever you go, well, let's crucify them on the cross because their actions are showing this. But, like...
Yeah, you're totally right. Then.
But speaking on a larger and more nice topic, speaking of Canada, they have bagged water, and now America has bagged milk,
yeah.
and now America has boxed water, which is the weirdest thing that I've found in my grocery store recently.
It's pretty weird. I mean, I've seen like some famous people carrying them around in pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's like something they're trying to push. And I think that's mainly where this boxed water company got their push from.
It's just like, I was at the gas station before I came here, and I just saw it, and I was like, I have to get this. This is a talking point.
Hello. I'm sure it tastes like water.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's like good water. I'm going to blend it with this horrible water.
We're going to mix and...
I'm going to try it first.
From the box.
It makes you feel like you're in risky business all the time, except it's just water. Like,
maybe
you
like...
want to try it?
Yeah, I want to try it.
It's really nice.
Water.
Smooth.
Yeah, you know, the box adds a nice note.
The box adds a nice note. Yes, I can tell. It's just like a fine boxed wine.
Fine boxed wine. I didn't know Franzia made water.
Yes, that's their other thing they do.
Franzia water.
They're actually well known in Europe.
No, yeah. Well, what's been new with you, man? Well, I think we kind of went through all of me.
Yeah, this last week I had to get some more boxed water, and then I worked on the blog this week and stuff like that. I tried to make it more. We talked a lot about Star Trek last week, and since I love Star Trek, I tried to put more like glimpses and stuff.
Yeah.
In the blog. This week also though, I've just been working on. I've been trying to meditate more, and so I've been trying to like go longer and longer into meditations.
Yeah.
Just to kind of clear my mind and make me feel more relaxed because I feel like I'm tense all the time, and so like I've been trying to like do that. So I've actually been like working on a lot of things like that, just like sitting in silence, not thinking about a single thing, just focusing on breathing.
Yeah.
Which has been immaculate.
Yeah.
Like I've had such a change in the week on just that. I feel like creatively, I just kind of didn't try to jump too far into anything, but I kind of dabbled in things and stuff like that. I did some more wood burning.
Nice.
I did some more drawing.
Awesome.
I started coming up with like this like little like continent for like a campaign for like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, which I'm really working on and stuff. So it'll be fun. I sound like a dork, but no, it's like I think that was one of the things. Is when I was going to actually ask you today, like when you were a kid, did you ever just do anything that you consider like? I've never heard anyone else kind of do this. It seems kind of weird.
Yeah, I had a lot of things like that. The first one, I get calluses on my fingers really bad.
Yeah,
and I think we all do. I would like instead of biting my nails, I would literally bite the dead skin off the tip of my finger.
Okay, yeah.
And like I had a couple friends who'd say like, "What are you doing? That's really fucking weird." And I never met anybody else who had like done that.
Yeah.
But it's weird because like I now I play guitar and I've just had these calluses still build up, and sometimes I still fucking do it.
Yeah, it's like a habit.
Yeah, and I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, I'm just biting the tips of my fingers off. Apparently.
And yeah, that was kind of the thing that I when I was little, I used to draw like maps. I was obsessed with cartography.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was just bred to be into history.
Right.
I was obsessed with vexillology, which is like the study of flags. I was obsessed with cartography, which is the study of maps. So I would just draw maps and make up hours and hours and hours of stories and language groups and all these things that these little like cities would do on this like map and stuff like that. And so like this last week, because I've been meditating a lot, I actually have been coming up. I've been doing that again. Just I think it's because it's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Where I just kind of did it and just kind of let it kind of go with like where it would go and stuff like that. It's been really fun. So
yeah. I think that like meditation and like actually spending time just like in your head, kind of maybe even not necessarily actively in your head, but just allowing yourself to take a break from kind of really concerning yourself with things. And sitting down, and I almost say like a lot of times I feel like I have to come up with my thoughts.
Right.
And I get distracted from the kind of feeling that like really like I feel like a TV. And that like there's a TV station that's just being piped into my brain all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't ever really, I'm never really aware of that feeling. I always feel like I'm having to work for my thoughts until I sit down and meditate and start thinking and start letting them just start come to me,
and I think
is really important.
That's kind of the thing that I've noticed with this last week, because like the week before I noticed on the podcast, I was like, I didn't do anything. Like I was just really depressed and stuff like that. It was just bad. This week I was like, okay, well I'm going to try to work on that a little bit more. So I started eating better.
Yeah.
I had more salads, started getting more vegetables in my diet, and trying to drink more water and less like other things.
Right.
And then I did meditation almost every night. I think there was like 2 nights this week that I didn't do meditation for at least 45 minutes. And then I started to draw and just kind of do little like doodles and stuff like that. And so it's been really fun. I've been exploring like geometry with like different kinds of like angles and everything like that, kind of working on kind of things like that. And it's been incredibly relaxing for it. And I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of one of those things that right now I'm in the process of thinking up what kind of next things I'm going to write or do, or how I'm going to like work on like some of these shows and stuff. And I just needed to have a pause moment.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, it sounds like it's been working out well for you.
It's been great.
Yeah. So like whenever you like sit down to meditate, like what's your process? Like what are you like actually doing or like focusing on?
So the way that I've always learned with meditation is, because I used to do it a lot when I was younger. So basically what you do is you find a safe and comfy spot. I sit in the middle of my floor because I have a nice like rug that's pretty comfy. And what I'll do is I'll light a candle.
Yeah.
That way, like with my eyes closed, I have like some kind of resonating light to kind of select my focus towards.
Yeah.
And so I'll light a candle. And generally, I'll put on like either sitar music or like I did last week was Wardruna. I've been listening to a lot of just like kind of anthemic music that doesn't really take away focus. There's no lyrics in it really.
Right.
And if there are, they're foreign, so they sound like a musical instrument.
Yeah.
And then basically what I do is I try to empty my mind completely of thought. And I just focus on breathing. And anytime actually I start to see that my mind starts to trail off, I just focus on breathing more.
Right.
You just go, okay, time to breathe in through your nose, hold, breathe out through your mouth kind of thing and stuff like that. And so then you start to like eventually start to breathe into muscle groups. Like generally, a lot of places will tell you to start at the top of your head and work down. But what I found for me works the best is if I start to breathe in like the big breaths, like from my toes all the way up, and then work my way up.
Yeah.
Seems to help me relax a little bit easier. And so just by doing that, I just kind of go into a state where I have nothing around me that matters. And it's just a way to pause my brain, because I think that's one thing like drugs and alcohol will pause your brain or like numb it at least enough, but nothing works better than like the meditation and stuff like that. Like it's the ability, like when I open my eyes after doing it for at least like 30 to 45 minutes, if not maybe like 2 hours, everything looks hyper vivid. Everything looks like a movie. All the lighting is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's things that I never noticed before either. Like there's like hues that I don't notice, or like shapes that I didn't notice, or anything like that. And it's been very, very functional and wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, do you have any like do you ever use any like type of mantra or anything like that, or do you just really focus on your breathing and like just making sure that you're like pausing?
I mean, like, okay, I never really, I don't say anything really. I don't try to use like the Om or like the Lam or other like kind of like, I don't do like chakra meditation or anything like that. The meditation that I'm really more focused on is a complete shut off, and then eventually my mind will, it's hard to explain, but it kind of seems like it almost like focuses on an outward kind of approach and stuff like that, where things like emotions will bubble up inside of you and you'll think about them, but you're not technically like getting diverged from anything and stuff like that. So,
yeah, because I something that I've been kind of practicing a little bit more lately is like, I'll kind of like, if I'm upset in some way, or I feel like I need to calm myself down, or I need to pause. Right. Whenever I try to like meditate, even if it's just for a couple moments, just to like bring myself back to where I'm, to where it's going on. Right. Like I always try to use the term like loving awareness, like be that. Right. Like, in my mind. So like whenever I sit down to meditate, I always found that like focusing on breathing is a good place to start for me, but like I eventually just all I'm doing is breathing.
Sure.
And I feel like I get so focused on it to where like I'm not even paying attention to what else is going on. I'm just breathing.
I forget that I'm like doing this particular circular motion of breathing all the time. Like after 10 minutes, I'm done. I'm just doing it naturally.
Yeah, and so like I'll start to kind of use that like loving awareness thing. Like I'm loving awareness. You know, I won't even say it out loud sometimes. I'll just say it in my head, and the whole goal is for me to come out of the meditation and just be literally aware of what's around me and be willing to love everything that's around me.
Right.
Like, if I can love what I'm aware of, then I'm going to be in a positive mood.
I think a few times I focused on happiness this week, like where I just want to be happy where I am at and stuff like that. But I think that just naturally came in with my subconscious bubbling up.
Absolutely.
I wasn't necessarily like telling myself that something needed to happen, because I feel like if I try to force something while I'm in meditation and stuff like that, it voids the meditation completely.
Yeah.
And so by just letting whatever in my subconscious bubble up to me and stuff like that, I really feel like once I open my eyes and see the world from a different perspective, I have a better grasp at seeing what's going on.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. Yeah, I just think that's a really interesting. I think everybody has like their kind of own perception and kind of ritual that they go through whenever they talk about meditation. And if you don't, you should. It is really helpful. Like, and it's not just the thing that you think it is. It can be a lot of different things, which is why it's helpful to me.
Sure. I was reading this week about walking meditation. Have you heard of that and stuff like that? Yeah,
totally.
Like where it's just like you try to clear your mind while walking out in nature and everything like that, and don't try to focus on anything in particular.
Well, I mean, I think as a culture too, like we're brought up with the term ritual only ever being used in sort of an occult sense, or
like a Catholic sense and stuff like
which
that. Like
to me feels sort of occult. Like I'm not. I mean, they have all sorts of weird kind of rules that, like, if you don't know about, just looking at, you're like, this is strange.
Yeah, it just feels archaic and foreign for people that don't know it.
Right, and I don't mean that negatively in any way, occultish. It's just the only word I can think of. But like those things that you see in the Catholic religion are rituals. They're repeated things that are like meditation, but you're not sitting down to think about meditation. They're rituals to get you thinking about Catholicism and to be more in touch with the place you're in and
the people group that came with it, like, you know.
Exactly. And so those types of rituals I think are super important in everyday life. You know, sometimes, like, for me, just waking up and making my coffee in the morning is a ritual now that I really love. Like, and it gives me a lot of pause, and it allows me to start my morning with no concern other than, does it smell
waking
good?
up.
And it's something that I do every day now, and it makes me comfortable to wake up. It makes me want to wake up.
Yeah.
And I'm not a morning person. You knew that.
Absolutely. That's why we started this.
That's why we started this. And it's
because we couldn't wake up.
Yeah. And I just think that allowing ourselves to be aware of, like, our own rituals, you know, even if your ritual is like smoking a cigarette after a meal.
Sure, yeah.
You know, like if there's something about it that is like a repeated thing you do, like, figure out what that means to you, and like that can become something of like a meditational, like, starting point.
Right.
And I don't know, I think about that stuff a lot right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, like, I always tend to meditate at night because I feel like light distracts me a lot more. That's why I have the candle, because it's a focus kind of mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel more comfortable at night. I don't know. Maybe it's a comfort thing. I don't know. But there's something about it that, like, maybe I'm just up a lot at night too, and so that's another thing. But it's been great. No, it's really worked. Like, I feel splendid today. I feel better rested than I have all, like, the past month.
Yeah.
I feel just a lot of different things. It's been interesting. So. Yeah.
Well, this has been a good episode.
Absolutely.
I feel like we got a lot out. Talked about a lot of stuff.
Well, and as always, I'm Wes Potts.
And I'm the Alex Keeneman.
Cheers.
Okay, goodbye.